Yesterday, I was walking down the street. I turn a corner, and these huge dump trucks full of sand and police cars are blocking the street, and you have to kind of go through a choke point to get through. That's just to make it to Fifth Avenue, where they were having a pro-Israel parade, and these dump trucks blocked every street for blocks, so no one could take their car in and kill a bunch of people. I'm amazed, Rabbi, at the anti-Semitism that is just under the surface in this country.
Well, it's interesting, Glenn, but it really does seem to ride along with secularism. In other words, the same places that have become bastions of secularism, namely, for instance, the university campus, have also become bastions of anti-Semitism and havens for Islamic radicalism, particularly of its anti-Semitic variety.
You say that this, because I'm just looking at this booklet, and I think we're getting together today, so I'll show this to you. This is horrifying. This is Nazi propaganda. You say what's happening in the Middle East is connected to the Nazis.
Very much so, and this is something that is laid out in great detail in the Bible and in ancient Jewish wisdom, in that the origin of the Islamic nation, namely Abraham's oldest son Ishmael, has these extraordinary links to the cultural germ of Nazism that is already found soon after the Israelites leave Egypt. And sure enough, we find this thing going on and on to the present day, Glenn, in the sense that Matthew Kunzel and some of the other scholars have uncovered the links between Muhammad Atta and the 9/11 plotters.
Give them to me. Give them to me.
Well, yeah. Look, wouldn't you have thought that this 9/11 plot should have been hatched in Mecca or Medina or Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, or at the very least in Cairo or in Tehran? But no, it was hatched in that notorious mosque in Hamburg, Germany. And that is very significant because Albert Speer, who was Hitler's architect of evil, and who was imprisoned in Spandau prison, wrote a book called Spandau Diary. And of course, in Spandau Diary, he lays out how Adolf Hitler in the early 40s said, look, New York is the center of world Jewry, and the only way to get them is to send suicide planes. And he got the Daimler-Benz company and the Dornier company to begin designing an airplane called the America Bomber that would carry suicide airplanes to be launched into New York skyscrapers to kill the Jews. And so I don't really think that Muhammad Atta dreamed up this plot. This stuff circulates in Germany today. And he said, aha, this was a Hitler plan. We don't have to come up with anything new. Here it is. This is the way to go. And that's just one example of the way this Nazi-like vision is carried on through Islamic fundamentalism today.
We're seeing. I don't remember reading. You may know more on this subject than I do, but I don't remember ever reading in any history book that there were hundreds of thousands and sometimes millions gathered in the streets of Berlin chanting, "Kill the Jew, kill the Jew." It was a lot more, at least at the beginning, a lot more covert than that. Here we are. The world is dead asleep somehow or another. You have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and in some cases in Egypt, 1 million people chanting, "Kill Israel, kill the Jew, kill America." You have that also in Tehran, and nobody takes that seriously.
No, and the similarity, though, is important, which is that when the Eastern Front was crumbling, when Germany's war against Russia was running into the Russian winter, the Wehrmacht commanders begged Hitler to release some of the railway equipment and the SS officers that were running the concentration camps. And they said, look, we could really use that stuff. And Hitler exploded in a fury and said, you don't understand what this war is about. It's about killing Jews. That's the whole point of it. Of course, we're not going to divert men and material away from the concentration camps just because you're having a little trouble with the Russian winter.
Why do you think that we didn't? Great Britain did not bomb. The Allied forces did not bomb the train tracks to Auschwitz.
Well, back then, and look, I must say, I tend to view that with a little bit of gentleness and a little bit of understanding. I don't see anti-Semitism on the failure of the Allies to bomb. We got to remember that it was by no means a dead certainty that we were going to win World War II, and we were stretched thin. England was stretched thin, and I don't believe at that point nobody really knew what was going on, the full extent of the massacre, the full extent of the genocide.
Do you think we have that? Do you think we have that excuse this time, Rabbi?
No, of course not, Glenn. And largely, I mean, people would have to be completely blind. I mean, you've certainly done more than your fair share of making it known, and here we have this weird thing that we could go to the Arab world in the Middle East and say, you guys, listen, drop your weapons, make peace, and you're going to have prosperity, and you're going to have peace, and you're going to have this wonderful time. Everything, literally, the Middle East, your countries, and Israel, all going to become the Switzerland of the Mediterranean. And they would burst out laughing. They'd say, you don't get the idea. This isn't about peace. This isn't about anything other than killing the Jews. That's what this is about. You can't tempt us with money. And in this sense, it's very, very similar to the Nazi vision. So you've got this idea that Jews, Americans, the West in general, basically the spiritual descendants of the Bible, dream of beating our swords into plowshares. But the world of Islamic fundamentalism does not dream of beating their swords into plowshares. They view their swords as vitally important tools in world domination.
Play the. Do you have that audio pad of the guy, or it didn't matter. It was in Arabic or I don't know what language it was in, but remember he was talking about we'll sell everybody into slavery. We'll be able to go over to the United States soon, and we'll just grab their women and children and we'll sell them into slavery. There is like groceries. I mean, that was a quote from him. We'll sell them like groceries. There is real profound evil. Why does the world not see it?
Well, I do think that we can take something of a lesson from the 1930s. Look, basically, I mean, Daniel Bell wrote about the cultural contradictions of capitalism. The same can be said for civilization, Glenn, which is that I think you would agree that the world at the moment is in the middle of a tussle between civilization and barbarism. And this is exactly where we were when Nazism, back in the 1930s, threatened to plunge the world into 100 years of darkness. And that's essentially what we've got here. And I think that we doom ourselves to possible failure if we fail to heed the cultural signals that essentially this is a struggle between death, darkness, barbarism on the one side, and love and life and peace and promise and prosperity on the other.
Do you believe, Rabbi Lapin? I was thinking this weekend, and in fact, I think I might have it here. I wrote something this weekend that I guess could be looked at as a little dark. It was the questions that I'm asking myself now about all of us in history and where we're going to be in history as a culture and as a people. How will we be remembered, and our responsibility to God. And I wrote it off the top of my head. What I wrote was, I believe that I know that I made the same mistakes in my life over and over and over again until I kept asking myself, why does this keep happening? Why does this keep happening to me? Until I learned what I was supposed to learn, then I could pass to the next level. When you look at the parallels of the 1930s and the parallels now of what's happening in the world, it's almost like evil learned its lesson and is trying it again. And they're coming again. And we refuse to really look at it. We refuse to really look at it and wipe it out early in the beginning last time. Do you believe that God is giving us another chance where he's saying, guys, you're going to keep doing this until you get it right.
I mean, I think that's right, because the problem is that civilization ends up very easily becoming cowardly in its own defense. And we saw civilization reluctant to confront evil when it was Nazi Germany. And today we find a reluctance to confront evil as well, partially because we don't fully understand what we're up against. And as you and I have discussed, I prepared a tool for people on this called The Clash of Destiny, Decoding Israel and Islam. Basically, this titanic struggle, as you say, a second chance for civilization once and for all to triumph against barbarism. And with your permission, I'd like to mention it and tell people how they can lay their hands on it.
I tell you what, why don't you do that? And then on tomorrow's television broadcast, I plan on having you lay this out for us as well. So
I think
go ahead and point people into the direction.
Yeah, please. It's at my website, which is www.youneedarabbi.com. And the name of it is Clash of Destiny, Decoding the Secrets of Israel and Islam. We've got to be able to see that today's headlines have their basis in the Bible. The cultural struggle is an old one. It didn't start in 1948 when Israel was founded.
YouNeedARabbi.com. Make sure you go there. And Rabbi Lapin is a good man and so unbelievably wise, and looks at things much differently than most people can, and he can explain them. YouNeedARabbi.com. President of the American Alliance of Jews and Christians, Rabbi Daniel Lapin. Not an Insider Extreme member yet? What are you waiting for? Sign up today at glennbeck.com/extreme.